Is there a way for humans and AI to coexist in voice acting in a fair and equitable way? Or is it really a zero-sum game that ends with the robots taking over and all of us looking for new careers? My guest today has a story that I think we all need to pay attention to because I believe that it shows one really great example of a potential path forward. Her clients include Crayola, the National EMS Academy, and Skyrocket. Welcome to the show, Erin Culpepper.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm so excited.
I am very much looking forward to sharing your story because I really do think it's an important story for voice actors to hear right now because there is so much uncertainty around AI. And I understand that. I have been fully open to the fact that I do not have all the answers. I do not know how this is all going to play out. A lot of industry experts, industry pundits, whatever you want to call, everybody's got an opinion at this point, but it's mostly based on speculation, theory, whatever. And so I think your story gives us a potential real life case study. Anyway, not even potential. It does. It gives us a case study as to what this might look like or one way that this might look like going forward. So I am looking forward to getting to that. But first, let's go back to the beginning and start with a little bit of your journey into voiceover. And I'm very curious to hear how a veterinarian ends up with voice actors. And if the story doesn't somewhere along the line involve Mr. Ed, then what are we even doing here, honestly?
Oh gosh. It's a strange one actually. So I was living in Orlando a month before I was, gonna start vet school. I'm out to dinner with a friend, we're laughing, carrying on, and all of a sudden, someone walks up to our table. And I was like, oh gosh, I was like, they're going to tell me to quiet down. I'm being too loud. So I was like bracing myself for that. And she was like, hey, sorry to interrupt. But I overheard your voice and I work on The Simpsons. You have a really unique, young sounding voice that the voice industry, you know, could use. We don't have a lot of adults with younger sounding voices. You should look into doing voice acting work for kids and things like that. So yeah, I just hadn't thought about it before, really.
Okay, I did not know this story.
Yeah.
Show of hands.
So
How many people's soiree, their first introduction into voiceover was somebody who works on The Simpsons showing up and saying, you should get into voiceover. Oh, look, there's not a single hand in the room that is raised.
I know. So I took some classes while I was there. I did, my first demos and I loved it, but then vet school happened and that takes a lot of time. So I just kind of dabbled in it a little bit after that. And, once I kind of got a steady job and was able to kind of get back into it, that's when I started doing more. But yeah, that's how I fell into it initially.
But have you been on The Simpsons?
I wish.
I don't understand. I don't
I
understand how this person can come up to you randomly in a restaurant and tell you that, but then you've never actually had an opportunity to be on The Simpsons. Tell me you're at least connected to this person on LinkedIn or you got a business card or something.
I wish. I was so taken aback. I was like, oh, I'm so glad I'm not in trouble. And also, this is crazy. Yeah, it was, I wouldn't even have known at the time what the main voice actors look like. So it was probably, one of them. I hope they're
So you may have met
and
Nancy Cartwright at some random restaurant in Orlando and you don't even realize that, oh my
Exactly.
gosh, this is crazy. Okay, so apart from that, which is come on, there's no better story of how I got into voiceover than, somebody from The Simpsons was like, you should be in voiceover. The other thing that I think is really interesting about your story is that you made an intentional decision to stick with a day job, to try to, take care of yourself financially while you were trying to build this up. And I think that's an important story too, because I think a lot of voice actors, a lot of people want to do voiceover or dream about doing voiceover full time, but for most people, the idea of just waking up one day, deciding to be a full-time voice actor, and then throwing themselves into a full-time voiceover career is not specifically realistic. So I like the fact that you recognized that right away. You still did the thing, but the goal ultimately, full-time voiceover.
I mean, I love vet work, but I love the freedom of time that comes with voiceover, and I would just love
Mhm.
to, you know, maybe have it like 90% voiceover, 10% veterinary work eventually. I think that would be perfect.
So let's talk about how you balance it all, because you've got a day job, and not just any old day job, right? Vet, lot going on there, probably a lot of pressure that comes with that some days. You're a mom, you're a wife, you're trying to do this voiceover thing. What are some of your superpower tips for how you manage to balance all of that and get everything done and still remain sane? And like, I don't think I've ever seen you not smiling.
Oh, oh gosh. Um, I mean, I don't know if I'm great at it, but I do try. It definitely takes a lot of discipline, a lot of commitment. I always feel like there's a tiny little Marc sitting on my shoulder saying, um, short-term pain for long-term gain, because I feel like you say that a lot to me. But um, I mean, yeah, sometimes I'll come home after performing surgeries all day on cats and dogs, and I want nothing more than to just flop down on the couch. Um, and then I'll just say, you know, let's go upstairs. Just do one audition. Just do one, Erin. And you know that typically will turn into 10 or 20 once I get up to my studio. Um, Sometimes I'll wake up super early before I have to go to work, and I'll just squeeze in like a last minute audition. Um, I think I did this for the toy. Actually, I think I was like, oh, I got to get this one in. Like, I'll just do it real quick before I leave. Um, I do a lot of outsourcing. I used VA for VO earlier this year to hire a virtual assistant who's super amazing. She does a lot of lead gen for me. She's been helping put together fun videos for social media content. And um, I actually try to outsource other things that aren't related to VO that give me like extra hours during the week. So I have like a good meal prep system in
Right.
place. So I don't have to worry about spending hours cooking every day. And that really, you know, helps save
Smart.
a lot of time to focus on VO work. Um, and I have a really supportive husband. I mean, we have a 5-year old. If, you know, there's an audition I want to do really quick, he's always super supportive and willing to just like hang out with our daughter while I run upstairs. So that's huge.
I love that you said that you push yourself to just go do one audition. Because if you're pushing yourself, you know, maybe you've got a goal that I need to submit 10 or 15 or 20 or whatever. But if you're not feeling it at the end of the day, rough day at the office, long day at the office, whatever it is, coming in and being like, I got to go submit 15 auditions. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
not going to be motivating. But if you can come in and say, I just got to just go do one, just go do
Yeah.
one. And you get that first audition submitted and you're in the booth and you're doing the thing and you're like, okay, you know what? I'm here. Let's go and keep going. And so I think that's actually a really smart little brain hack to push yourself into doing it, is, you know, break it
Yeah.
down, right? It's eating the elephant one bite at a time.
Yes.
But I love the idea of outsourcing, and outsourcing in different ways too, right? It's really easy to
Mhm.
think about, well, I could outsource my marketing or my lead generation or my CRM or my social media. But what if I could outsource my laundry? Or what if I could outsource mowing the lawn? Or what if I could, you know, outsource meal prep, like you said, different things like that. So that anywhere, I guess, where
Yeah,
you can make up an hour or two can make a big difference in your ability to get things done.
for sure. Yeah.
So in this house, you are known as the girl from the coloring page. So the Boo's favorite game on the iPad for quite a while now is Crayola Create and Play. In fact, we were sitting on the couch earlier playing because she's all excited because like the new Halloween version of the game has come out and there's all sorts of fun
Yeah.
things to discover. And so I hear you every day, whether I like it or not or want to or not. or need to or not. But I'd love to hear the story of landing a job like that.
Sure. Well, that's my secret way of staying top of mind, right? So it's like my subliminal messaging for you, where if you hear my voice, you're like,
If
oh,
you are
maybe
on
I
an
should share
app,
this to marketing tip with Erin.
if you are on an app that everybody's kids are playing, then yes, you are top of mind with them on a regular basis. And judging by the fact that the Crayola Create and Play app is consistently one of the top apps for kids in the App Store, that says to me, you are top of mind with a lot of people. We just need them to make the connection now. That's the next step, is making the connection. But talk about working with a like Crayola. That's a legit brand. Like that's a big
Yeah.
deal to get in
Yeah,
with a
they're
brand like
great.
that. So how did that come about?
Um, Gosh, that came through a pay to play when I was pregnant, I think. So I've been working with them for at least 5 to 6 years. I know it was before my daughter Aria was born. Um, and yeah, they've been awesome. I mean, they send updates several times a year that they want me to voice. You know, they have a lot of how to drawing pages. One time I got to do how to draw a vet, which I thought was really cool. And they do like a lot of fun holiday updates, like you just said. So, for
Yep.
Halloween, I think I have how to draw a Thanksgiving turkey video on there. Um, my daughter also plays it. She loves it. She calls it the pets game because they have these like fun little they look like aliens, I think, but they're really cute.
Yes.
So they hatch out of
Yes.
eggs. I got to voice. I do some voices for those game components. So, but they're wonderful, of course. Who doesn't love Crayola, right?
I fully admitted, and this was before I even knew that you were the voice of it, but I've admitted in the past that I sit and color pictures on that app at night sometimes after Kaylee goes to bed. Like, it is actually a really fun, very addictive game. And so then when I found out that you were the voice on it, that just made it even funnier because of the fact that we're working together. But it's a great game. And I mean, if you want to talk about getting some cool credits, putting Crayola on your resume, that's a pretty cool credit, particularly for someone in your position. Everybody's got career goals that they're pursuing, and I know that the kid space is one of the big areas where you want to go. You want to do apps and toys and things of that
Yes.
nature. So having Crayola certainly gives you credibility in that space. What made you decide that that's where you wanted to go? Is it just the nature of your voice? Is it just because you're a mom? Is it because you got a kid who loves playing with toys? Like what?
um, yeah, I find that that sort of work comes naturally to me. And so, I usually get a lot of good feedback from clients, and I'm a people pleaser. So, that certainly helps. But I guess, as far as working for the apps, as far as, what I do to kind of help look at like what could help me with marketing and things like that. Um, I'll have my like lead generator focus on like mobile game developers. Sometimes I'll go onto Steam and like look around for new and upcoming games that I might be able to reach out to, or game companies that I might be able to reach out to. Um, Working on like connecting to like toy companies on LinkedIn. Um, but yeah, I mean, I don't know if that really answered your question.
I think, look, everybody's got different genres that they want to focus in for different reasons or whatever. So it's always fun to hear. It's always interesting to hear. Well, this is my space, toys, apps, whatever. These are some of the things that I'm doing. So I think there's things that we can learn from that for anybody that's thinking about moving in that direction. What about so that's on the marketing side. What about on the prep side? Talk a little bit about what you did or what you are doing on the prep side. How do you make sure that when Crayola comes calling, or whoever the next big kids thing is that you get in with, that you're ready to go from a performance standpoint?
Sure. I mean, I'm always looking to improve. my techniques, and I'm always looking for coaches to work with. Right now I'm working with Christina Malizia, who's so amazing. We're going to be putting together like a more toy focused demo that I'll be able to market. So I'm super excited about that, but I'm always, wanting to grow and learn and, just be the best that I can, for the clients. Yeah, I mean, as far as doing updates for Crayola, I'll usually like play it for a little bit before I go in and do an update just to make sure I'm like matching the
Just
voice.
remember, just for a little bit. Yeah, no, you can't play that game for just a little bit. And so, what I love is that everybody that's listening now is going to download that right now out of the App Store, and everybody's gonna get hooked on it too, because it's actually so much fun, not just for your kids, but like for you as a grown up as well. I think one of the coolest parts about this, and I know we've touched on this a little bit, but I think it's worth pointing out again, is you are doing this while you are working a day job. And so it is a good reminder for people who are not in that place yet where they can go full time, or where they have a day job, but they're trying to figure out, how do I make it happen when I've got to work 8 hours a day or whatever. You can still get access to some really cool opportunities, and you can still build a really cool career for yourself. And you can do that if you're not working 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, specifically on voiceover. So speaking of cool opportunities that you can create for yourself, the main reason why I wanted to have you on the show was to talk about the most recent, very cool opportunity that came up for you. So tell us a little bit about the story of PoBear.
This is an audition that came through Celia Siegel's team. So I'm part of their talent roster. And, I saw it, I saw the specs, and I was like, this sounds like a good one. And then, I saw the word AI, and I was like, ugh. And I mean, because they're such a reputable talent company, of course, I was like, I knew they wouldn't send me anything they didn't think was a solid and trustworthy opportunity.
Sure. Yep.
And I knew they would be super supportive in negotiating usage and terms, etc. Like, I know there's a ton behind the scenes that they do for voice actors that we like don't know about. So
Yep.
I'm so
Yep.
grateful for them.
Yep.
But yeah, I was like, oh, like I was like, okay, like I'm gonna audition for this. Like I'm gonna send it. I think I said earlier this was one where it came in, and I was like, "Oh, I'm just gonna do it real quick before I leave for work. Like this is a good one for me. Like I'll send it in. Several weeks go by. I find out I'm shortlisted, and I was like, amazing. Um, and this was the week before we were supposed to leave on a cruise for Alaska. So
Rule number one of voiceover: go on vacation if you want to book voiceover.
Exactly. It always happens to me. Um, and so I find out the week before we're leaving. Um, the Friday before we were leaving, which was going to be on the following Tuesday, I find out I got the job, and I was like so ecstatic. I was like, okay, that's amazing. When did they want to do this? And they were like, well, it's a super quick turnaround. Like, we really need everything done by next week. And I was like, what do you need me to do? I'll record in the middle of the ocean. I'll book a studio in Alaska. I'll make a pillow fort on the cruise ship at 2 a.m. I will call George the tech and have him help with tech support. Like, I was like, what do you want me to do to make this work? Like, let's make this happen, because I knew that it was, I knew that it was an amazing opportunity. But I think because of the way that they needed to use the voice, like the voice model, and because they really wanted the work done in one place and not like multiple studios, etc., we were having like a really hard time figuring out logistics, to the point that at one point in time, my husband and I like had a discussion. And by the way, this was a trip for his birthday and his mom's birthday. So like a big trip for our
So
family.
big trip, not just let's just go on a
Yeah.
cruise, but
Yeah.
let's go on a cruise to celebrate all these things simultaneously.
Yeah. Yeah. And so we sat down and we had like a legit discussion about me possibly not going because, I knew it might be a potentially career changing opportunity for me.
Right.
To make things extra complicated, I'm Eastern time. I live in North Carolina. One client was in Egypt. Um, the other clients were in California, so Western Coast
Oh,
time.
geez.
Um, and there were, I mean, I think like 5 or more people that wanted to be in on the session. Um, but in the end, like I think everyone just really wanted to make it work. I know Celia and Aya and her team were all advocating for me and hopping on video calls with the clients and everything. And everyone was like, you know what? Like, we want to make this work. Like, can you do like a really long session on Sunday, um, and be available for Monday for edits and everything? And I was like, absolutely, like, let's do it. So I moved my flight out one day. My husband and daughter, they kept their original flights. They left without me, which again, very supportive spouse. Traveling with a 5-year-old across the country by yourself is
Yep.
not an easy task.
100%. I could barely go to the grocery store with a 3-year-old. So
Exactly. We did the session on Sunday. I was drinking gallons of water, like all the honey based tea I could find. I was like, had a straw in my studio. I learned that from your podcast with Shauna Pennington Baird.
nice.
So I was like just using my
She will be
straw all
thrilled.
day. um, I stayed up till 2 a.m. doing all the edits because it needed to be super clean. Um, I stayed around on Monday for any extra pickups. Hopped on my plane Tuesday morning, which was the day the ship was leaving, and I literally like walked onto the ship 20 minutes before it was leaving the port.
So, in the midst of all of this, there's something to be said for George the Tech to possibly start a franchise of recording studios on board. He needs to
Yeah,
partner with some of these cruise lines to build, they've got the Tri booth, but they need to come up with some sort of a George the Tech, Carnival Cruise studio or whatever it is. I mean, those ships are big enough. There's got to be voice actors on enough of those that somebody's going to be using it at some point, or voice actors, podcasters, or whatever. But it's so crazy how the whole thing came together. But I mean, that's a testament to you, and also a testament to Celia and her team, and
yeah,
the way that they worked on that. So correct me if I'm mistaken in any of this, but you are recording a voice model that will then be used to be the voice of the bear. So there's an AI model of the voice, and then
yes,
there is a Chat GPT component with the bear as well.
yes,
Is that correct?
yes, that's
Okay.
correct. Yeah, yeah,
So there's an app that you use to choose your variables, characters, settings, all that sort of stuff. ChatGPT then creates the story, and then the AI model delivers the story.
yes.
So
And
this thing
there
is
are
like Teddy Ruxpin 2024.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, it totally reminded me of I had Teddy Ruxpin when I was little. So even while I was recording it, I was like, this really reminds me of Teddy Ruxpin. It's so awesome.
Didn't you like put a cassette in Teddy Ruxpin's back or something? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes, yeah. But it's so cool. I mean, it can make endless amounts of stories. And has so
Yep.
many. You just pick, what character you want it to be about, any other factors like donuts, candy, chocolate, pretzels, um, magic beans, and yeah, it'll generate a story, and it'll generate a story in about a minute. You can also have the characters be like good guys or bad guys if you want. Um, you can put your child's name in the app, so it'll always say like "Hello, so and so." When you turn it
Yep.
on, it knows if it's morning or night, so it'll say like "Good morning. Hope you're having a great day." It'll like tell you a joke. Has like fun facts built in, so I think it's really
This
cool and
thing is like
innovative.
next level dad jokes. Like seriously, it is next level dad jokes. It's like
It
somebody
really
found like
is.
the dad joke encyclopedia and then programmed it into this thing. But it
Yeah.
really is an amazing toy. And you were so kind and generous to send one to us. And
Aw.
Kaylee has used that thing at nap time and bedtime every day since it arrived. It
Oh,
is
I love it.
like she absolutely loves it. I would be shocked if it did not end up as one of the hot toys for the holiday season. Like, it really
I hope so.
is that cool. But at the same time, I can understand where there would be a level of hesitancy as soon as you start talking about creating an AI voice model and all of that sort of stuff.
Mhm.
So I'd like to get into that a little bit more. And you can tell us as much as you want or you're comfortable with, or you can. But I know
Yeah.
that you worked with Celia. Obviously, that was a big
Mhm.
thing. And we trust Celia that she's going to be looking out for you. But you also had a lawyer go over the usage terms, or can you talk about
Mhm.
that a little bit?
Well, I knew about Rob Siglampaglia. Did I say his last name right? Siglampaglia. Um,
You
through
got it.
through you. Yeah, through you actually. And like as soon as the contract came through, Celia's like, "Do you know Rob?" And I was like, "Yep, I know Rob." Well, I know of Rob. I don't know him personally. And she's like, "You should have him look at this." And I was like, "I was already planning to." And so, I emailed him. Was this? We were on the cruise at that point. I emailed him. He within minutes responded. He's amazing. It was the first time I had worked with him. So incredible, so helpful. Took the time to explain. I mean, it was like 5 or 6 pages. Took the time to explain, all the different legal jargon. Highly, highly recommend. But yeah, I mean, the main things that you know, from my own terms wanted to be sure of was, that there were usage terms that were for a certain amount of time. So, they couldn't use my voice indefinitely in perpetuity. They were just using my voice in relation to the toy. Um, I wanted to make sure I didn't have any sort of like long exclusivity. So, I would still be able to work on other toy opportunities that might come along. Um, and I wanted to make sure I could promote it. I think, there's a sentence in there that confused me. And I was like, does this mean like I can't share it once I'm done with it? And they're like, no, no, no. It just means like they don't typically put the voice actor's name on the packaging. So yeah, you can share it. And I was like, okay, good. So those were the big things.
So when it comes to the AI side of things, a lot of people will talk about Nava, and Nava's uh, control, consent, and compensation. Those are the 3 C's. So can I control where the voice is going to be used? Do I give consent to how the voice is going to be used? And am I compensated fairly for that, whatever the said usage is? And so part of the reason why I really thought your story was important to share was because you were able to successfully negotiate all of those things. You had it signed off by a lawyer, by a legitimate manager in the industry. And so it checked all the boxes. And I think it's a really great example of one way for humans and AI to potentially work together down the road. And I think probably the thing that's really interesting to me is I've talked to some other people in the past about, where do you think AI is going to have the biggest impact? And
Mm-hmm.
toys is actually one of the genres that has come up a few times, but more from there's not going to be any more toy work. AI is just going to take all the toy work. And so this is actually really encouraging to see. Obviously, that is not the case, at least not for this one. So I think everybody will be watching to see how successful this toy is. Go buy one, watch for Black Friday sales, or maybe, I don't know, whatever. Pick one up. But I just think it's a really great example of how that came together. But the other side of this, which I think is really interesting, and I don't want to make you uncomfortable here, but I know you were really nervous about sharing your story. And
Yeah.
and I understand why you were really nervous about sharing your story, because not all of the conversations around AI in the voiceover community right now are positive conversations. And I think probably to a degree anyway, I think that's probably fueled by just fear of the unknown.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, if you look hard enough, you can find a negative use case for anything. You can find any client in any genre in any way, whether it's AI or not, who's taken advantage of a voice actor or abused usage terms or whatever. And so if you look for those things hard enough, they're out there. And so those are the stories that we tend to gravitate towards. But I understand being nervous about sharing the story, and that, well, if I tell them that I did this AI thing, are they going to come after me? Is the community going to be mad, or
Yes.
whatever? And so I actually shared part of your story in my keynote at eVocation because I thought it was a really inspiring example of what the future can potentially look like. And so I just want to say thank you for,
Oh.
first of all, thank you for even giving that job a second look, because a lot of people, honestly, a lot of people probably wouldn't have. As soon as they saw AI, they probably would have ran. And so I am
Mm-hmm.
grateful for you giving it that second look. I'm grateful for Celia and her team for being on it. For people like Rob who are out there who will look at these contracts and help us figure out how all of this works. But then thank you for coming on and being willing to tell that story, because I hope that it will make more voice actors, at the very least, enlighten them to what is possible.
Yeah.
Are there still going to be bad AI jobs out there? Of course. Of
Yeah.
course there are. Are there going to be TTS jobs that are absolute junk? Yes. Are we still going to get frustrated about some of the stuff that we see on casting sites? Of course. But does that mean that every AI job is bad? No, it doesn't. And so
Yeah.
I just think it's really cool. I don't know of any other toys that are out there that are doing something like this at this point. Maybe there is, maybe there isn't. And do you know, what has the manufacturer said to you? I felt like this was like a groundbreaking thing. Have they said anything?
Yeah, they, when we were doing it, they're like, we're really excited about this. This is like groundbreaking technology, they definitely made it seem like it was the first of its kind. So, I know they were really excited about it, and I was really excited when they released it and I got to buy one. So,
I mean, I was looking up, I did some searches on Google and I read a few articles on it, and everybody was like, the articles that I was reading, like reviews and things like that, they were all talking like, this is the first one that anybody's seen. And so I was working in radio when Tickle Me Elmo came out, and I just remember that whole
oh
Tickle Me Elmo craze. And I was like, oh my
yeah,
gosh, wouldn't it be so cool if this thing became like, that's always the reference for the holiday season, right? What is
it
this
really
season's Tickle
is.
Me Elmo going to
I
be?
know,
And I'm
I
like,
know.
wouldn't it be cool if this thing became, this season's Tickle Me Elmo? Now you got Poe. I mean, I know this won't, for anybody that's listening on the audio, they're not going to be able to see it, but if you flip over to the YouTube channel, or for those of you that are on YouTube, but you've got Poe with you to make a little guest appearance, at least, so we can see Poe.
Yeah, yeah, yes, yes. Here he is, super cute.
I'm getting really good at it now, going through the ritual nighttime routine of connecting the Bluetooth and getting the app set up. And Kaylee gets to sit there and pick out, I want to have a story that has a mom and a dad and a dinosaur and a pretzel, and it's going to be underwater, and there's going to be Santa Claus, and like all, like, just like the most bizarre stories. The dad jokes kill me. That's like, okay, seriously, these jokes, like my 3-year-old is like, she doesn't know, but she laughs anyway because she just loves it. But I'm sitting there like, oh my gosh, this thing is so bad. It's amazing. It's like, seriously,
They're
epic
fun.
dad joke.
We'll do we'll do a firefighter for you, a friendly monster that I'll make into a villain, and some magic beans and some ice cream.
I'm a little disappointed there's no Dr. Pepper in the app, just saying.
Oh yeah. All right, hold it up to the mic.
Hey, Marc. Did you know that octopuses have 3 hearts? That's more than double what we've got. Imagine if I had 3 hearts. I'd be the most loving teddy bear ever, hugging everyone thrice as much. Speaking of huggable friends.
It is a really fun, it is a really fun toy. And I think it's a really good example of what is possible. And so that's got me excited about, the first, if this is the first one, then there are other people, other toy manufacturers, whatever, that are sitting and thinking, man, how can we do this? How can we create something like that? And, hopefully that opens up the door for other opportunities, and hopefully they don't just go straight to an AI voice, but actually use a voice actor for it. I'd love to hear a little bit more, if you can talk about the session. Like you said, you did a really long Sunday session. So what was that like? Because you hear about, oh, I can make a AI clone of your voice with just 30 seconds of audio or whatever. So
Yeah.
what was that session like?
I mean, we did a lot of storytelling, stories, of course, for it. So maybe like 1 to 2 minute stories. And it ended up being, in total, I think about 6 hours of
Wow.
audio. I think they could probably use less, but they wanted to make it really good. So,
Yeah, I'm guessing that's to get the nuances, because you do hear
mhm,
nuance and inflection, and there's a level of emotiveness that happens, and obviously the
mhm,
more that you train it, the better it can be for that.
yep. And then I did a few like facts, like the tallest volcano is, so and so. I think I think that there was at one point they were having trouble with the way that it was saying numbers. So we did a lot of facts with numbers in there to make sure that that the technology learned the correct way to say numbers. Um, yeah, it was so fun. I mean, I just, I loved it so much. I loved the project. It was great.
Is this something where you said there's a limited usage on it? So is it something where they renew if they decide to
Mm-hmm.
carry on? Do you come
Yep.
back? Do you do new
Mm-hmm.
sessions as they improve the technology or whatever? Do you know?
Yeah, I mean, of course, if they, I mean, they haven't mentioned that they want to do any updates, but I do know it does renew next year if they want to keep it out there. So, so that's in the contract. So yeah, hopefully it'll do well, and they'll want to keep it out there. And I'm of course available for updates if they need me to, do anything to tweak any bugs that might come up. But it seems to be doing okay so far. Whenever I play with it.
Oh yeah, we minimum 3 stories every night at bedtime, and usually 1 or 2 in the afternoon at nap time, and it's doing a fine job in this house as well.
But pro tip, it is a Bluetooth connection. I found out that if you're not in the app, um, it'll connect to anything. So I was actually re-listening to an audition I did for an alien, like in a different room, and I like hit play on my phone because I wanted to like play it back. And from the other room, all of a sudden I hear, "Hello," and I was like.
So you'll be able to stream this episode of the Everyday POpreneur podcast through PoBear if you would like to
Yeah.
use it as a, Bluetooth speaker from your child's room or whatever.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that would be creepy if all of a sudden the bear just randomly started talking at some point. You didn't realize that it was like, it's always listening to me. Well, Erin, I just want to say thank you again for coming on and sharing your story and giving us an overview of how it worked, and hopefully bringing a level of comfort to other voice actors who may have the opportunity to do a job like this, or they may see a job like this. And hopefully it's an encouragement to agents too to take a look at this stuff and
Yeah.
figure out how we can work with it, and be a part of how it evolves as the technology continues to improve and come into the industry.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for coming
Oh,
and
thank
sharing,
you.
and hopefully they don't come after you with the pitchforks. I'll get them if they do.
Okay, thank you.
I'll come and get them. I got your
Thank you so
back.
much. Thank you, Marc. Thank you for giving me the confidence to share the story. I'm very glad.